Hello and welcome to this very special edition of an interview that we have today from the Jane Goodall Institute in Singapore. I'm Safari Sid, and today we are privileged to be joined by Dr. Vilma D'Rozario here. Thank you and welcome, Vilma.
Thank you, Sid.
Great. It's lovely to have you with us today. And ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Vilma is she's a long-term volunteer of the Jane Goodall Institute. She was actually one of the founding board members of the Jane Goodall Institute here in Singapore and is a very, very, very long-term volunteer of tiger conservation, specifically Malayan tiger conservation here in Singapore. So we are delighted to have you on board with us. And we have a few questions that we're going to ask you, please, so that we might learn a little bit more about the situation with tigers, specifically Malayan tigers, what threats they might face, what we can do to help, and why it's so important for us to be doing this. So I guess to start off, Dr. Vilma, would you like to tell us a little bit about the tiger population in the world, how it is at the moment?
Sure. We estimate there are about 3,900 or less tigers in the world.
Gosh.
And we know that there are a few species, subspecies left, such as the Bengal tiger, the Siberian tiger, Sumatran tiger, Indo-Chinese tiger, and the Malayan tiger.
Fantastic, great. So honing more on, I guess, what's closer to us here regionally, we obviously have the Malayan tiger, and that's something that we're quite active about here in Singapore in terms of spreading awareness, education, and doing conservation. What's the population like of the Malayan tiger specifically in this region?
Yes, okay. The Malayan tiger right now lives in Malaysia. Only in Malaysia. It lived in the south of Thailand, but we don't believe there are any more Malayan tigers there. There could be, but we're not so sure. But definitely living in Malaysia, and they used to live in Singapore. In Malaysia now, there are about less than 150 estimates.
Gosh, less than 150.
That's critically endangered.
Wow, that is, and again, the Malayan tiger is a subspecies themselves. So is that one of the lower numbered population ones?
Yes, it's the most critically endangered of tiger subspecies in the world.
Very sad. That's very sad.
And it is.
And what's causing it? Why are we down to only 150 so individuals in this part of the world? Why?
Well, in Malaysia, the biggest threat or challenge is poaching. I'll say a little bit about poaching, but besides poaching, there's also deforestation and as a threat and a challenge. Poachers come from other parts of the world to hunt tigers for the trade in tigers. Tigers are in demand where people believe that they are good for health. Every part of the tiger may be sold and consumed. Like, for example, tiger flesh can be eaten, tiger bone, tiger whiskers, so all parts of tigers, and tiger skin is valued for its beauty and made into rugs.
Sad.
So all parts of the tiger can be used, and so the tiger is in great demand.
That's very unfortunate. Actually, you bring up an interesting point about seeing these kind of tiger products sometimes available on the market. Could you give us any advice if we were to see in a shop that there's tiger bone or tiger whiskers or skin? What should we do as a consumer if we see that?
If you see any shops carrying tiger products, you should immediately report this to the police in Singapore, as well as to the National Parks Board, Wildlife Management section.
Yes.
But we believe there might not be, tiger products sold in our shops. But if you see, please do report.
Fantastic. That's good to know. And I think it's very important for us to be conscious as consumers. And if we do see that, I think it's something that we want to reduce, not just here in Singapore, but anywhere in the world. Focusing a bit more on Singapore itself, did we ever have tigers here? Is there any stories of having tigers in Singapore?
Yes, indeed. Singapore used to be home of wild tigers. In fact, Singapore was known as a haunt for the Malayan tiger.
Amazing.
But we lost our last Malayan tiger in 1930. It was killed. This is because the tigers were getting into conflict with people living in Singapore, as there was a lot of development in the 1830s to the 1930s, and land became used for agriculture and settlement. So because there was this clash between tigers and humans, and the tigers were losing their habitat, the forest, tigers were hunted because they became a problem. Yeah.
That's very sad to hear that, once upon a time, this whole continent was crawling with so many of these wonderful, majestic creatures, and now we're down to 150 or so.
Yeah, in Malaysia, and no wild tigers in Singapore.
No, that's very sad, isn't it? And are there many rescued tigers up in Malaysia? Are they able to be rescued and then rehabilitated and re-released into the wild? Is that something that happens much?
I believe the Wildlife Department rescues tigers that might, have conflict with villagers or hurt tigers, and they do try to rehabilitate.
Right.
I don't know yet of tigers, actually getting back to the wild after they are rehabilitated, so they might sort of end up in a zoo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, unfortunate if they can't get back into the wild
Yeah,
and then grow the
really,
population, obviously.
It's very tough.
Yeah, it's. I guess they are such wonderful creatures. And can you tell us a little bit about them? Are they quite solitary creatures? Do they live in prides like lions, or how are they in the wild?
So tigers are solitary. They live on their own. The only time you'll see tigers together would be a mom tiger and her cubs. And they live with her for a few years until they're grown and they learn how to hunt, and then they go off on their own.
Yes.
They live a solitary life.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And so a bit about them. We know that they are the biggest cats in the world, the biggest big cats in the world. Could you give us an indication as to how big they are? I know it must be bigger than our little friend over here.
Yes. So they are huge. So they are about twice the size of this tiger that we have. So that would be about 2 meters from head to tail. And they're pretty tall. They can run very fast, and their roar, can be heard by someone about 1 kilometer away.
Gosh!
So it's really very loud.
That's amazing. They are really, really elegant, majestic beasts, aren't they?
Yes.
And what do they eat? What do they feed on to get so huge?
Yeah. Well, their favorite meal is a samba deer. But the difficulty and the problem is that samba deer are also critically endangered. They will also eat, other smaller deer species and also the wild pig.
Ah, right. Yeah, of course. That's brilliant, actually. So the scary part of this is that even their prey is declining, so that they don't have much of a chance of actually growing in populations.
Yes.
But that also brings us to the question, well, apart from the fact they're such elegant, wonderful creatures to see in the wild, why is it important to us, for us to save them? What's the impacts on the planet if we were to lose them?
Yeah, okay. So wild tigers live in wild forests, wild, tropical, equatorial forests. If we lose the tigers, it means that we will lose the forest, because the tiger is an apex predator.
Yes.
And, all wildlife are connected.
Yeah.
Losing an apex predator imbalances the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
We are part of the ecosystem as well. So, we lose tigers means that our forests and ourselves are in deep trouble.
Yeah, and even related to that, Vilma, I mean, we hear a lot of stories about human-animal conflict, and there are a lot of neighboring areas where there are rural villages or even towns very close to the wild areas, and there's been a lot of issues on that front. Could you tell us a little bit about that side of it, the human-animal conflict side?
Yes. So when forests are cut down, for timber production, or there could be mining in the area and forests go, tigers lose their home.
Yeah.
So they get closer and closer to human settlement, and sometimes are tempted to eat, livestock,
Yes.
like cows,
Yes.
and other livestock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's indeed a problem in our neighboring countries. I do believe that the government and NGOs are stepping in to, help villagers
Okay.
that have conflict with tigers.
Yes. Yeah.
So education is very important
Yes.
to the village so that they can live more in harmony with wildlife around them.
And are they getting, I mean, exactly to your point, when it comes to deforestation and losing their natural habitat because we're urbanizing or suburbanizing the kind of areas that encroach on their kind of territory, are we getting much support from government agencies and from private companies? Are they supporting the causes like the Malayan tiger conservation, etc.?
Yes. Are you talking about Singapore or are you talking about Malaysia?
I guess more so Malaysia
Yes.
in that sense,
Okay.
because not much of a chance out here anymore, right?
I would say that the government, wildlife department and the government are, kind of putting the tiger as priority, this being the tiger year,
Oh, fantastic.
and the population being very low.
Yes, yes.
So a great effort is being made in Malaysia by the government and wildlife department to protect the tigers.
Yes.
I think there are corporates that are getting involved.
Great.
Personally, I wish that more corporates in Singapore will get involved
Yes.
to protect the Malayan tiger.
I think it's key, irrespective of whether it's domestically extinct or not. This is still a population that we can help to grow.
Definitely, and they were our tiger. They
Yes.
are our tiger as well.
Yes, yeah.
So if more corporates could get involved in tiger conservation from Singapore, it's going to be really great.
Certainly will. And, taking it one step further down the ladder comes to us talking about, well, what about us as individuals?
Yes.
And us as consumers and us as, a member of the audience? What can we do as individuals to try and help conserve, educate, or develop opportunities for the tigers as well?
Yes. First of all, don't feed the demand of tigers and tiger parts by not eating any tiger product. Next, you could do citizen conservation. There is this citizen conservation activity called the Cat Walk. Great. CAT standing for Citizen Action for Tigers Walk. Fantastic. Where people from Singapore go to Malaysia and walk in the forest and look out for snares and traps.
Wow, that's great.
Of course, we give a donation, we pay for this, and funds go towards the community rangers who protect the tigers as well. You could also donate towards tiger conservation activities in Malaysia. And if you would like to find out more, you could contact us at the Jane Goodall Institute, Singapore. There are also other books that you could buy if you're a child or if you're a parent and you're interested in tiger books. There is Little Tiger and its adventures. So far, there are 3 books, and one is going to be released very soon. So buy, tiger books and find out more about the tiger and what you can do to make a difference.
Wonderful, thank you. Dr. Vilma, that has been extremely enlightening to us. I think we've learned a lot about not just the Malayan tigers, but the situation of tigers and conservation overall in the world. And key and more important is what we can do to help support this. When we're talking about less than 200, 150 individuals left in the world, it's going to need all the help they can get to be able to grow that population again. We all at the Jane Goodall Institute hope that this is another one of those drives that we can do to help as we look after conservation and storytelling all over the world, and it's something key and very close to all of our hearts. So thank you very much for joining us. Hope you found it as informative as I did. I really enjoyed talking to you as well and learning so much from you, Dr. Vilma, as always. Once again, thanks a lot for all the information, and thank you all for joining us today. I am Safari Sid, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.